course, you're probably wondering, what do we do for an encore? Well, we will have the next part of the program. But before we do that, fellow Toastmasters and friends, for those of you who have just joined this program, let me just remind you, this is not an ordinary program. This is our tribute to Director Ann. And as a bit of a surprise for you, Ann, we have a number of speakers who will be delivering their presentations. And please don't be surprised if you will be part of that speech. Anyway, onwards now to our prepared speech portion. We have for our first speaker someone who will do the icebreaker speech from the Presentation Mastery Level 1. She will be evaluated by Area Director Ching Bognot. The time limit is 4 to 6 minutes. Keep trying. Here with her presentation, let's give it up for Erika Doblon. Erika, please.
Thank you, Toastmasters of the day. Raul, I'm sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'm happy to see all of you today, and I hope that you are safe and well with your family. Again, my name is Erika Doblon, but you all can call me Kai. I am an only child, nanay to my 10-year-old son, and the better half for my life partner. I am also a part-time financial consultant for ProLife UK. I've been in the industry for 2 years, and currently I'm into self-help books, learning vegan recipes, baking, and also working on my certification for financial planner. And that's how busy I was even during this pandemic. How about you guys? What are you up to? What are you all up to aside from Toastmasters and eating? I hope that you're all
reading a lot.
Wow, I like that. But before I proceed with my story, I have a question for everyone. When was the last time you tried something new? Anyone can answer, anyone can share. Anyone? No one?
Can I try?
Oh, go ahead.
You mentioned about, thank you. You mentioned about baking. And the first time I did was to bake without an oven.
Oh.
For me, that is something new.
What did you use? Instead of...
I used the rice steamer.
Oh,
I was able to make a successful moist chocolate cake. Oh, I wish I could share it all with you when I
can. We'll give you our addresses so you can,
Yes. Thank you.
Try it. All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else who have tried something new during this pandemic? No one? All right. So I'll go ahead and share my story. So in 3rd grade, after finishing early with my Chinese tutorial, I went back to school to look for my cousin. She was more like a sister to me, and she's 4 years older. So when I went back to school, I saw her and found out she was practicing for track and field. Being the curious kid, I also wanted to try what she was doing. So that has been a regular thing for me. Every time I finish early, I would go to the school and join her practice. And then one time, their coach asked me to join. But since I was underage at that time, I was not yet allowed. So after a year, I tried out and got in the team. I was even included to represent the school for the Palarong Maynila. I played hurdles, high jump, long jump, and middle distance running. But in my senior and junior years, I played basketball and was also included to represent the school for the WNCAA. When I was in college, I also played for track and field. I played for UST, and I was a varsity scholar for a year and a half. All of that happened because I tried. Even when I was younger, I already know I am a go-getter. I would always try on new things, even if it scares me. So in 2016, when I was asked to host for our community event, I immediately said yes, even if I have no experience with hosting, because I have always dreamed of speaking in front of a lot of people. By the way, my community is called BCBP. It stands for Brotherhood of Christian Businessmen and Professionals. It's a nonprofit organization that aims to bring Christ to the marketplace. So on the day of the event, being inexperienced, I have nothing prepared but my best smile, just like this, the kind of smile that doesn't go away because of nervousness. And I was breaking out in cold sweat. That's how nervous I was. I was sweating like a pig. But then after the event, I realized, despite the terrifying feeling, I was really happy. It gave me a sense of fulfillment, and I felt I was made to do it. Glad I did, because that opened the door for me to serve as a host for the community. And eventually, I became the regular MC for our Saturday joint breakfast. Again, that all happened because I tried. I became a financial consultant exactly the same way, just by trying. So I was invited to attend a career preview. I said, okay, I'll try. I'll try my luck to take the examination, even if I have no idea about insurance. And I said to myself, if I pass this exam, I'll continue with the career. So today, I am happily doing my chosen career. And I've proven again to myself that by simply trying, you can be who or what you want to be. And as a result, I've been recognized several times by ProLife UK as one of the achievers in our branch. And it's now my passion to share everybody the importance of having a life insurance. So any of you who wants an explanation or whatnot about insurance, I will give you a free consultation after this. Okay, so just feel free to ask me. And I'm also working now my way of becoming a certified financial planner. Again, just by trying, I am now where I want to be. I hope I was able to inspire you to just keep trying. And I know that venturing on new things is quite scary sometimes, but taking the first step to try is a life-changing and sometimes even rewarding. As Tony Robbins would put it, no matter how many times you make mistakes or how slow you progress, you are still way ahead of everyone else who isn't trying. So guys, let's all just keep on trying. Thank you and good afternoon again.
All right, thank you very much, Erika. Oh, well, quite the achiever that you are. And in fact, yes, it's really important for us to continue trying. Right? Thank you. Let's give Erika another round of applause. Thank you, Erika. Right. Okay. We now move on to our second speaker. And our second speaker will deliver from Pathways Dynamic Leadership Level 3, the elective project social speeches. The time limit is 3 to 4 minutes. The title of the speech is A Year to Remember, to be evaluated by Toastmaster Daniel Gorospe. Here with his presentation, let's give it up for our ACT president, club president. Let's give it up for Nelson Salazar. Nelson.
Nelson, you're on mute. Can you repeat, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. A few days ago, Alabang Community Toastmasters qualified for its first President Distinguished Club Award. As its president, I'd like to publicly acknowledge our appreciation and gratitude to all fellow Toastmasters who contributed for this award. But today, I'd like to single-handedly identify our Division Director, Ann Macalintal, for her contribution for this award. It is really a year to remember on my Toastmaster journey as the club president of the club. I first saw Didi Ann in Cebu during the last district convention when she was introduced as one of the incoming division directors of Toastmasters. Then later, I knew her that we have three things in common. First, she's also an engineer, a graduate of Papua, and also once a member of Alabang Community Toastmaster. Not only a member, but she, together with DTM Liz Aquino and Toastmaster Ina Tolentino, chartered Alabang Community Toastmaster in 2016. My first impression of Didi Ann is that it's really a beauty in brains. And like what Toastmaster Banjay mentioned, she looks exactly like of that Korean actress that I watched in Netflix series. But she is really hardworking, tireless in organizing several events in Division H, like the club officers training, the division officers training, headliners of tomorrow, speaker summits, and a lot in the different contests conducted by Division H. So, and also I just learned that Didi Ann has a very impressive educational and work credential. Did you know that Didi Ann is a banker? That she's a vice president of Swiss Banking Corporation? That she is also has a master's degree with you at UP, Master in Technology Management. And Didi Ann once worked with ABS-CBN. So, fellow Toastmasters, I want you to join me in giving recognition and appreciation for what she did for a year to remember in Division H. Fellow Toastmaster, let us give a warm applause in showing appreciation by clapping our hand to Didi Ann Macalintal. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Okay. Thank you very much, President Nelson. And yeah, have experienced the positive influence which Director Ann had shown to. I didn't know that she was quite the events organizer. Something very effective with Anne. She would conceptualize the event, and after that, later on, she would guide us on what roles to take. Terrific leader Didi Ann is. Thank you very much, President Nelson. Let's give President Nelson another round. Okay. We now move to our third speaker. Our third from the Legacy Manual Humor, this advanced speech project number 3. The time limit is 5 to 7 minutes. So, are you single? To be evaluated by Toastmasters Herrera. Here with his presentation, Director Ed.
Are you single? That sounds like a loaded question, right? How many times have you been asked that question? Let's have a show of hands, okay? How many of you here are single or claim to be single? Please raise your hand. Thank you. Very good. How many of you here look single up to now? Oh, thank you. Now, how many of you have gotten into trouble because they thought you were single? Okay, thank you. That's a lot, right? Ladies and gentlemen, fellow singles and single lookalikes, good afternoon. Being single and being single is quite something these days. Do you agree? Imagine this. Some time ago, I was there at the E-Hotel. I was minding my own business, reading a book, not looking around, not like Jude over there, who normally looks around and whose radars are broadcasting, hey, I'm single, I'm single, I'm single. No, no, no. I was like that. I was reading a book. My eyes were glued there, and suddenly this lady approached me. She said something. I didn't even look at her. I just nodded my head while reading the book. She was persistent. She talked to me some more and asked me a question. I didn't look at her. I was there just nodding my head. And finally, I think she got pissed. She spoke louder and asked me a question. All I heard was, single? Ladies and gentlemen, I scratched my head. Wasn't that an S question? I was surprised. I lifted my head. I looked at the lady. She was beautiful. And she had this sparkle in her eyes. And I smiled at her. And gosh, she smiled back. So what I did was I nodded my head. And then I said, yes, single. And it was like she was in heaven. You know what? It was one of the most memorable nights I had at the E-Hotel. You know what happened next? I'll tell you when the timer shows the red light. Anyway, you know what I noticed? I noticed this. It's not every time that somebody asks you, are you single? They're interested in your being single, right? Perhaps they just want to open a conversation. But think about this. Whenever somebody asks you that question, that person might be trying to understand your personality, your character, your attitude. Here's what I noticed. Oh, okay. Imagine that you are in a company party and this big boss approaches you and asks you the S question. Are you single? I notice there are people who would answer this way. Yes, I'm single. Think, think, think. Red lights. The boss says, boring. Why? Because he thinks that the reason why you're single is because nothing's happening in your life. Therefore, your career is headed for the gutter. So be careful of your answer. Okay, let's take another example. What happens if you answer this way? Let's phrase the question. Are you single? I'm still single. Huh? Still single? The boss will think, loser. This person is somebody who nobody wants. That's why this person is still single. Okay? Okay, I know you're wondering, what is the best way to answer the question? Are you single? You know, after much research, I found the best way to answer that question. The way to do it is to answer it by singing your answer and employing a little dancing, right? Like moving your elbow, your shoulders like this, okay? And using the word again. Let me illustrate. Are you single? Yes, I'm single again. Ladies and gentlemen, when you give an answer like that, what goes on in the boss's mind? The boss will say, huh, this person is larger than life. He's got good attitude, he's got good perspective, good personality. That's why he or she has gotten into a relationship before. Not like boring and loser. This person is a winner, right? How would you answer that question? Division director, and are you single? Okay, fellow Toastmasters, next time that somebody asks you, are you single? What are you going to answer? I'm single again. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you very much. You know what, fellow Toastmasters, friends, just in relation with AD Ed's speech, I'd like to share a couple of years ago, you see, in the club where Anne and I are a member of, we were at that stage where we were promoting club membership tests. And you probably remember this, Director Anne. We had this one guest, okay, who came up, and you know, and at that time she had promo. The promo about if you sign up, you get a big discount. I think almost 50%. Now, what guest would resist that promo? And later, this one guest, he used to be a member of another club, but wanted to be a return member. Later, he PM'd me and said, hi, Raul. Then I said, yeah, okay, so have you decided to accept the promo of Director Anne? I asked. Then he said, well, I have a few questions. Yeah, he said, okay, what's your question? I said, and he said, is Anne single? I'm not making this up, Anne. I said, oh, well, Anne is happily married. I just told the guy, she's happily married. She has a 16 years old at that time, a 16-year-old young boy. So, well, are you going to sign up? I'll think about it, Sir Raul. He said, oh my God. But then imagine that here we are trying to promote our club, and all the guy had to say was, "It's Ansi." Well, anyway, we never heard of that guy again. So, well, from then on, anytime I approach someone, especially a guest, well, you know, I'll make sure that well, Anne does the closing, but whoever will promote will be someone else. Otherwise, they might ask me all sorts of other questions. Hey, Director Anne, you know whom I'm talking about, okay? Well, anyway, we now move on to another speaker. Okay, our next speaker will deliver an advanced speech project. This is advanced speech project number 5 from the Legacy Storytelling Manual. This is bringing history to life. The time limit is 7 to 8 minutes. The title of the presentation is The Last Days of the Marcoses, to be evaluated by myself. And here with her presentation, let's give it up for Director Anne Macalintal.
What do you remember about the last days of Ferdinand Marcos and his family? That was in February 1986 during the first EDSA People's Power Revolution. I know that some of you here may not be even born yet, right? That time, our economy was in shambles, the government was in total collapse, and there was a mutiny from the military. The following is the chronology of events that happened in Marcos's last 2 days in power. First, the decision to remain or withdraw. Some of you may not know that in February 24, there was an exchanges that happened between that time AFP Commander-in-Chief General Fabian Ver and to Marcos to stop the revolution. But they were not able to succeed. AFP was trying to convince Marcos to conduct an airstrike that day, but Marcos ordered them to halt. This is an exchanges that happened. Fabian Ver said to Marcos, "Mr. President, the ambush is aiming to mount there in the top. Very quickly, you must immediately leave to conquer them. Immediately, Mr. President." Marcos said, "Just wait, come here." Then Fabian Ver said, "Mr. President, please, you need to immediately order an airstrike. We have to immobilize and get their helicopters. We already have 2 jet fighters hovering and ready to strike anytime." Marcos said, "My order is not to attack. No, no. Please, my order is not to attack." Ver said, "They are massing civilians, our troops, and we cannot keep on withdrawing. You asked me to withdraw yesterday." Marcos cut him and said, "No. I said no to this. I said disperse the crowd, but do not shoot them." Ver said, "We cannot withdraw all the time." Marcos said, "No, no, no. Hold on. My instruction is to disperse without shooting them." The following day, February 25, that was the final day of the uprising. Victory for the people was within reach. That day also, the Philippines had 2 presidents. Yes, in February 25, 1986, 34 years ago, Corazon Aquino was sworn as the 11th president of the Philippines. He was sworn in by Chief Justice Claudio T. Hanqui at Club Filipino, just a short distance away from EDSA. After 2 hours, Ferdinand Marcos was also sworn in by that time Supreme Court Chief Justice Ramon Aquino. In the next 9 hours, as we have 2 presidents, that was the beginning to the end. In the palace, there was last-ditch attempts and negotiations that failed as the hours drew near. General Ver was willing to meet secretly with the rebels who asked to see him alone. There was a little love lost between General Pabian-Ver and the military officers who defected from the government. For them, General Pabian-Ver already failed when that time Senator Benigno Aquino was assassinated. General Pabian-Ver was the one accused of doing the crime. However, the meeting didn't push through, but the defections in the military went in rapid waves. People in the streets felt they were miraculous. Army units joining the sea of change nationwide was simply overwhelming as it turned out. Nuns were seen giving out stems of roses to the soldiers, and all these soldiers, none would even fire. Then next, the Marcos departure. At 3 p.m. that day, President Marcos phoned then U.S. Senator Paul Laxa. He asked to advise from the White House. You need to know that at that time, then U.S. President Ronald Reagan was considered a close friend of President Marcos. Their exchanges happened this way. Marcos asked Paul Laxa, "Is President Reagan asking me to step down?" The senator replied, "President Reagan is in no capacity to give that order." Then Marcos said, "Senator, what do you think? Should I step down?" Senator Laxa said, "Mr. President, I'm not bound by any diplomatic restraint. I'm only talking for myself. I think you should cut and cut cleanly. Now is the time." Laxa said that in a combined air of authority and also compassion. After nearly 2 minutes, there was nothing in the conversation. So Laxa was alerted, and then he asked President Marcos, "Sir, are you still there?" To which Marcos replied, "I am very, very disappointed." At midnight, the Marcoses family and General Pabian's family boarded the United States Air Force helicopter and flew to Clark Air Base in Angeles City, just 83 kilometers in Manila. The deposed first family and their servants then rode a U.S. Air Force medevac planes to United States territory of Guam. Then from Guam, they were flown to Hawaii. So they finally arrived in Hawaii February 26. It was recorded by the United States government that when they arrived, they have with them millions of dollars in jewelry, gold, cash, and stocks. When news of Marcos' family departure reached civilians here in the Philippines, many rejoiced and danced in the streets. Over at Mendiola, the demonstrators stormed the palace, which was closed to ordinary people. Despite looting by some angry protesters, the majority wandered through the hall and into the rooms where national history was shaped, looking at extravagant objects that the Marcos clan and its court had abandoned in their plight. In other countries, people also rejoiced and congratulated the Filipinos that they knew. It was quoted that CBS anchorman Bob Simon said, "We Americans like to think that we taught the Filipinos the democracy. Well, tonight, the world learned from them." Some authors say that Marcos prevented civil war, similar to the Syrian civil war, by refusing to use guns, notwithstanding the insistence of his top general, General Pabian-Ver. And by agreeing to step down during the EDSA revolt, the White House said, by leaving the Philippines at a critical juncture in his nation's history, Mr. Marcos permitted the peaceful transition to popular democracy. So what do you think? What do you remember about the last days of Ferdinand Marcos and his family? When all these things happening, I am ashamed to admit I was clueless. I was a clueless 13-year-old. And at the time, maybe I was playing outside, never minding what's happening around me. Maybe I was just still playing with my Barbie doll that time. But I wish that I could have taken part. By least being aware of what was happening to the history that was unfolding before me. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Director Ann. Yes, I remember that time in 1986, especially during the height of people power. And I also remember what you've mentioned, the talk between General Ver and Marcos. In fact, that was televised. That I caught all that on TV. Just to, by the way, folks, with Director Ann, you see, we happen to be members of a particular club where I am, or I happen to be I will be the incoming president. And you know what? If I were to look at Director Ann's skills, if I were to draw an analogy, I would say she's like the CIA. So I have to be very effective and careful as an incoming club president. Otherwise, she might have me ousted. Okay, I don't. Just like what happened to Marcos, she might do the same thing to me. Director Ann, she is so effective. She's probably even used to ousting dictators. Okay, but anyway, Ann, thank you very much. Let's give Ann a round of applause. Okay, we now.